Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation of Velixo reports entitled Velixo 101. My name is Gabriel Michaud and I am the founder of Velixo. I am very happy to be with you. I started my career working on ERP software more than 20 years ago and I have been doing just this ever since. Velixo is based in Montreal, Canada, but we have employees, team members, and customers worldwide. The story behind Velixo goes back more than 20 years ago. I was working on a different ERP solution, and I discovered that users were always going to Excel for reporting. We had all sorts of reporting tools and options built into our solutions, but people kept getting back to Excel for their reporting needs. It turns out that it makes a lot of sense. Excel is a very powerful tool. It's very flexible, but it's also very easy to use. For a while, we tried fighting against Excel and improving what we had out of the box, but it quickly became obvious to me that it would make a lot more sense to let people use Excel to build and run the reports that they need. Excel, however, has a few issues as a reporting tool, and this is what we aim to solve with Velixo. But before I tell you how we address this, I would just want to state the three main things that, in my opinion, affect manual spreadsheets. First of all, the work that people do in spreadsheets for ERP reporting is often very manual. You will export data out of your ERP system, or in some cases, you will just type it in. So it's very repetitive, and by the time that you're done, the data is already outdated. So basically something like copy and waste. Second, when it comes to manual processes, there's always the risk of errors. It's very repetitive, so people can easily make mistakes, and it becomes very hard to understand and verify the data. There is no way to click and get back to your ERP system to check what's wrong. And you're left having to do all this reconciliation manually. And finally, changes that you make in your spreadsheet cannot be written back. People will typically rely on spreadsheets to make decisions. So you could, for example, extract your P&L by customer, look at sales margins, and then decide to make a price change. Well, if you make all of this in the spreadsheet, you then need to go back to your ERP system and manually enter or modify the data in there. This is what we aim to solve with Velixo, and today I will give you a full walkthrough of the product. The solution I will show you today was built from the ground up for Acumatica. At Velixo, we take a very ERP-centric approach, and we adapt our solution to the different ERPs that we work with. And what you will see today is something that was built from the ground up for Acumatica. Being an Acumatica first solution, we're able to leverage all the great features of Acumatica and also some of the features that are unique to Acumatica. During my demonstration, you will see things like smart drill down, the ability to write back, the unified security model that are all made possible thanks to our tight integration with Acumatica. I've been working in the Acumatica ecosystem since 2009. I'm an Acumatica MVP. I am very active in the community. And I would also like to point out that our solution is Acumatica certified. Actually, more importantly, Acumatica uses our solution internally. All their financial reporting is done using Velixo. Velixo is also today one of the most popular, not one of the most, the most popular add-on in the Acumatica software world. You can check out reviews from some of our customers on the Acumatica marketplace or on G2. Just search for Velixo, read some of the reviews. I'm happy to say that we have a perfect score, very happy customers, and to everyone watching this today live that is not already a Velixo user, I hope that we can get your name on this list of happy and satisfied customers very quickly. We also won multiple awards over the years. That's a picture we took last year in 2022. Actually, I forgot to update this slide before my presentation. Velixo also won the Acumatica Innovation Award just a month ago in Vegas. So it's the third year in a row where we win a major award from Acumatica. One of the key strengths of Velixo is its simplicity. Again, I mentioned earlier that Excel is a simple but powerful solution. Well, it's the same thing here with Velixo. And you will see this in my demonstration in the next few seconds. To start using Velixo, there's a one-click install. It takes a few seconds. You simply log into Acumatica using your Acumatica login credentials, and you are ready to start building your own reports that include live data from your ERP system. All the functions, all the formulas that you have access to are fully documented. It's very easy, and if you can Excel, you can Velixo. That being said, I would like to jump straight to the demonstration. I know this is why you are here today, and I want to make sure that we have enough time to cover all the different benefits, features, and things that you can do with this wonderful tool. If you have any questions, feel free to use a live chat. Some of my colleagues are monitoring questions, and we will be answering as we go. If not, we will get back to you after the presentation today. I will close PowerPoint and start by installing Velixo on my computer. I always start my demonstration the same way because I want you to experience the simplicity of Velixo. You might be used to a solution that takes weeks to install. It's not the case here. You just double-click on the installation package, click Install, and in less than 1 minute, you will be good to go. While that process is completing, I would just like to point out that Velixo is licensed for your entire organization. So feel free to give a copy to everyone that has access to your ERP system. We do not charge per seat, so you are effectively able to have everyone in your organization run and refresh reports. Excel just opened, so let me create a brand new workbook. And I would like you to look at the Excel menu bar. So at the top here, you will notice that Velixo menu bar. Let's click on it. This is a toolbar or ribbon that we add to Microsoft Excel, and this is the most visible thing within Excel that you will see after installing Velixo. In my case, I just created a brand new workbook, so I want to I want to link this workbook to my ERP system. And to do so, I will simply click on the connection manager. So right here, let's click Add, enter the connection name, and the URL to my Acumatica system. Just notice that the screen sharing was not full screen, so I switched back. Hopefully, it's much better now for people that are watching. So yeah, the URL is the exact same URL that I use to connect to my ERP system. So if I go to Acumatica, in my case, and just enter my username and password, this is the exact same credentials that I will be entering right here in Excel to access my ERP system. And this is the first example of how well the solution integrates with my ERP system. Since I logged in using the same credentials, that also means that I will only see what I have access to in the ERP system. In the case of Acumatica, you can set restrictions by company, by branch. You can restrict users to specific menus, screens, sections, and you can even configure restriction groups that will let you make specific GL accounts or sub-accounts invisible to specific users. So for example, something like payroll accounts, maybe you do not want everyone to see the full transaction details. Well, that's something that can be set up in Acumatica. And once you set that up, it will also apply to whatever you do inside Excel. So let me just log in here. I will enter my username and password. And you can already see the green cloud icon, which means that we are connected and good to go. Fantastic. For my first demo, I would like to build the most simple report possible, a trial balance. So I will have 3 columns: account code, account name, account balance. And within the next 5 minutes, we will have fully linked this spreadsheet to my Acumatica ERP system. I am starting from scratch, so no tricks. We installed Velixo, now we just connected. And at this point, I would like to get a list of all my accounts from the chart of accounts. I will do that by clicking the Insert Chart of Accounts button right here in the Velixo menu. And almost instantly, you will see the list of all my accounts show up in column A. If you look closely, you will notice that there's actually a formula or a function behind the scenes that gives me the list of accounts. This is a dynamic function, and understanding how we use functions and how function works is critical to understanding Velixo. So in this case, it's the expand account range function. If I click here, Excel will tell me that this returns an array or a list of accounts that satisfy the range expression. So you will learn more about that in the next few minutes. But basically, just remember that this is a standard Excel function, and that this function gives me a list of accounts. Next, for the account name, we are also going to use a function. But this time, instead of clicking a button, I will just type it in the cell, just like I would with a standard Excel function. So just do equal and account name. As you can see, Excel already shows me a list of functions matching what I search. So there's the account name here. I will enter my connection name, and I will click the account code that I have right here in column A and press enter. Great. So now we have not only the account code, but also the account name. What's missing at this point is the account balance. And guess what? We're also going to use a function to get the account balance from my ERP system. Before I do so, and for maximum flexibility, I want to add a few filters right here that will apply to this column. I want to be able to look at different ledgers. I want to be able to switch my branch or company. And I also want to be able to look at different financial periods. I will do this by adding values here that will be referenced in the function that I will add next. Now, assuming that you're a new user, and this is actually one of the most common questions I get in my demos at this point, I will show you where you can see a list of all the available functions. The functions, once again, are very easy to find. Just like in Excel, if you type sum, Excel will show you multiple functions that lets you get a sum. Well, it's the same thing with accounting functions or project functions. You see them in the list, just like any other Excel function. You can also click the Insert Function button right here, and the Insert Function button will pop up this window. So if you're using Velixo on Windows, it's a window. If you're on a Mac, it's a panel on the right. But functionally, it is the same thing. Oh, and since I just mentioned Mac, well, Velixo runs on Windows, it runs on Mac, and it also runs on Excel Online. So I will open that drop-down here and scroll down. You can see different types of functions: math, statistical, database, text, engineering. But what we're looking for here are general ledger functions, functions to retrieve data from the Acumatica GL. This is under GL. We also have functions covering all the key modules, so projects for project accounting or construction customers, generic inquiries, list functions, and even something pretty cool called write-back that will be presented in the later portion of my demo today. Let's look at GL. Scroll down a bit until I find this function here, account ending balance. Actually, there's quite a few functions, but don't worry, they are very simple to use, and many of them are actually very similar. For example, account beginning balance works just like account ending balance. I will show you how to use ending balance, but be assured that you can master all the other functions yourself in just a few minutes. Let's click OK and follow the instructions that we see next. Calculate the account balance with Acumatica. I need to know the ledger. So in my case, the data is in the actual ledger. It could be a different ledger. It could be a currency-specific ledger. It could be a statistical ledger with non-financial data, or it could be a budget ledger. Remember, you can have as many ledgers as you want. So my ledger right now is in C1. I just click C1, and I will continue next to the account code. It's in A5. see that I can filter by sub-account and even segments. This is also optional, so I will just skip over it. I have my branch. Let's click on C2. I have the date on C3. And I think that's it. In case there's any questions while writing the formulas, you can always click on the help link that you see right here. And this brings up our wonderful self-service support portal at help.velixo.com. Let me highlight it, where you will find detailed documentation on this function. So we're looking at one function. You can see that we have a lot of info, even examples with actual spreadsheet data that you can look at. This website contains a lot of resources that will help you as a Velixo user. So if you go to help.velixo.com, you can actually do it after my demo today if you want to. You don't need to be a client of Velixo to see this content. You will have access to getting started guides, example reports, and there's even a set of videos and tutorials that you can watch and that will teach you all there is to know about Velixo, okay? If you have more questions, by the way, we also have additional training options. Our partners have consultants that are certified on Velixo. We do one-on-one trainings as well. There's a lot of help out there if you need assistance. Before I close this page, and actually since you are watching on YouTube, I know there's people on LinkedIn as well, but if you are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our page. Let me close that ad. Yeah, you can click subscribe here. My system is in French for some reason, but you would have access to all our videos if you subscribe. 1 second, Velixo YouTube. Let me Google that here. Yep, right here. Okay, so there's a lot. It even shows that we are live right now, and you can see a bunch of videos. We publish one every few days. And I mean, it's a great resource if you're trying to learn how to use Velixo. Okay, let's go back here. Let's click OK. Let's format and copy that down, and we're done. At this point, we have a fully functional report that is linked to my ERP system. Okay, so at this point, all I have to do to get the most up-to-date data is go to the Velixo toolbar and hit the refresh all button. Close my eyes for 1 second, and boom, the numbers are updated on my screen. I no longer need to export this data, copy paste, re-enter it, and go through a lengthy process anytime I want fresh data in my spreadsheet. I just click refresh. I can also change my financial period. In this case, we're looking at an old period, but you could just change it to March and press enter. And as you can see, Excel refreshes right away. Excel is smart enough to refresh the spreadsheet because Excel knows when it's time to recalculate something. I'm sure you're familiar with formulas like that, where we add 3 cells, F5 plus F6 plus F7. And I'm sure you know that if you change any of the numbers, that Excel is smart enough to recalculate the total that you see here. This is the exact same thing that happens with all our functions, all the functions that we add to Excel. If you change any of the values, Excel knows that it's time to recalculate. This is Excel. So if you want to copy paste the column at this point to look at, let's say, 2020 versus 2019, you could do it. You could even add a column with a calculation. So let's do a variance here. And once again, this column will also update whenever I change any of the values. So let's change that to budget now, actual versus budget for 2020. And let's scroll down to the revenue accounts, and we should see some budget figures right here. Yes, and we can see the variance in column B. Now that you understand the basics, I would like to switch to a more complete example that will allow me to introduce you to additional features and benefits of Velixo. Let me click File and open this workbook here that I will use for the second part of my presentation. Once again, I need to log in before I'm allowed to refresh or change anything in this file. So let me enter my password once again. This is my ERP password. I'm using username and password. You might be using something like Azure Active Directory or multi-factor authentication. We also support that. You just click that single sign-on button. But in my case, I am simply using username and password. Perfect. So it is refreshing, and right away we see the most recent data. What you have on screen right now is a much nicer looking example, much nicer looking spreadsheet. It contains, and uses all sorts of capabilities that you find out of the box in Microsoft Excel. For instance, we have borders, we have conditional formatting set up, so you can see the red arrows here. You can see this section here that show that we're like way above budget. These are all things that you can set up in Excel, and Velixo will work fully, completely, and easily with what you do in your spreadsheets today. Just to show you another example, let's say you want to have a chart that shows your expenses by account class. You could simply select the rows and insert a chart, and then you just call it expenses here. And whenever you change the date or move to a different branch or company, the system will update the numbers, but also the chart that you now have on the right-hand side. Everything works just like Excel because it is Excel. So once again, what you do today in your spreadsheets, what you're used to, is something that you can do with Velixo. You don't need to learn a specialized tool. Everything works using the familiar Excel environment. You are inside Excel. So just let me quickly cycle through the different sheets. This is a simple financial report, but it does add additional views. If you have multiple sheets, all the sheets will also refresh in one click when you go to that Velixo toolbar or change any of the values. And it means that it becomes really easy to create dashboards, cash flow statements, trial balances, budgets, project reports using Velixo. Speaking of project reports, construction report, this is something I will get back to in a few minutes. It is also possible. For now, I am focused on financials. But once again, we try to cover as much as possible from your ERP system, and this is also something that is available. Earlier in my introduction, I mentioned that spreadsheets can be hard to audit. Let's say, for example, that you are looking at the month of December, and you look at your expenses, and you see that the other expenses row right here is pretty high. It's actually almost twice over budget. Normally, if you're working with a plain spreadsheet, you would probably need to look at the formula, understand what's included, and then go back to your system of records, export reports, and so on. But here, it's actually very, very easy to drill down and see what is included in that cell. We call this feature Smart Drill Down, and you access Smart Drill Down by first clicking on any cell that contains ERP, in this case, Acumatica data, okay? And then clicking the drill down button right here in the Velixo toolbar. So I want to look at other expenses here, that 12K, and I will hit drill down. And what drill down will do is look at my formula, identify all the cells that were included. Okay, it's only one cell, but you might have added multiple values, like the subtotal you saw. And for each cell, well, for each cell, you will see a breakdown by account, sub-account, and for each, you will see the balances and amounts. So if you look through the drill down view, we can quickly identify that there is a pretty big expense right here under meals and entertainment. So let's say you want to look at this in more detail. You can simply click on View Transactions, and this will open your account details inquiry. In this case, that's a screen that shows me all the transactions and the selected account and period. So I think I already figured out where this is coming from, but just want to highlight at this point that we can already confirm that the ending balance that we saw in Excel here is indeed the same ending balance that we have that we have in the account details screen. This is the same balance that we see here in Excel as well. But let's say I want to look at the actual transaction here. It says Las Vegas New Year party at the Wynn. Well, I can click the reference number. At this time, I am inside Acumatica, so I have access to all my Acumatica ERP feature, which includes the ability to view any files that have been attached. So here there's something at the line level. Let's open it. And it shows me a PDF file that was attached. Oh, I mean, these are pretty expensive champagne bottles. So wow, like $8,000, and there's a lot of alcohol. So anyway, so I'm not the controller at Velixo, so I don't have the actual permissions to reverse that in the system. But if you are the controller and you are discovering this transaction and you want to void it, well, there's the void button in Acumatica. So maybe this is what you would do next. Just to recap, we use the smart drill down feature to look at a specific cell in the spreadsheet. By clicking on the cell, we were presented with a drill down view. This drill down view has all the cells that were included. And for each cell, we have a breakdown by account, sub-account, and also branch with amounts for each. It's very simple to use. And once again, it even works on calculation and totals. Let me do it on total expenses right here. I will click drill down. And Excel will show me that there's actually quite a few cells included. And for each cell, if there is more than one account, let's take one that has a few. Here, D25, no, D26. Yeah, D26, actually, you have 2 GL accounts. Meals and entertainment, this one. I can click the hyperlink to get to the cell. I can look at the formula, or I can go back to Acumatica. That's a smart drill down feature, and this is one of the cool benefits of using Velixo with your ERP system for reporting. Beside the financial functions that we have been looking at, we also support project reporting. This is useful for companies that do project accounting inside Acumatica or that use a construction module. Let me quickly show you a few examples of what's possible with this tool. So let me open the file. And I will go to the dashboard tab. It's a pretty nice looking sheet. This dashboard here shows us information on our top projects, how many projects we have open, how much money we're making on each project. This is a standard Excel dashboard. It's built using standard Excel features. You may already have sheets like that. The data, however, that is used to build this dashboard comes from sheets here that use the Velixo functions and formulas. For example, here we have a project portfolio sheet. This sheet shows us all the projects currently assigned to one of our project managers, John. And for each project, we do have information on the budgeted revenue, budgeted expenses. We also have actuals, and we have hours. So Velixo is not only about dollars or GL balances. You can get statistical data, hours, unit quantities, and so on, using the same type of functions and formulas that you've been looking at so far. I will not spend much time building a project report, but rather I just want to show you that the functions are quite similar. Here we are using project ending amount, and instead of filtering by GL account like we did for our trial balance, well, we are filtering on project, task, account group, cost code, inventory item, period, and so on. Okay, so very simple. And with these functions, you can easily build a project portfolio like the one you see on screen. You could build another project that shows you a very detailed view of a specific project. So that's one. And then we can see here, we have flooring, painting, we have carpentry with budgets and actuals for each. And just to show you that this is real, let me change the project code and look at the Italian restaurant project report. Here we do have it. Okay, so same concept. One last example, a WIP report, very detailed, all the projects with amounts. Then maybe one more, a project P&L showing us multiple projects side by side. And for each project, we have revenue, expenses, and net income. I saw this question in the chat, and this is definitely something that was going to be covered in the presentation. If you want to go beyond financials, if you want to go beyond projects, we offer you the ability to query any entity in the ERP system. We support something that is called generic inquiries, and we have a full integration with those generic inquiries from Velixo. Let's say, for example, that you want to have a list of all the AP bills in your system. Maybe you want to have a list of outstanding bills for key vendors right inside your spreadsheet. Or maybe you want to have an actual aging report to reconcile the balance sheet, the aging balance of the GL with the actual accounts aging. You could do that as well. Generic inquiries, for those who are not familiar, are screens that look just like the one I have open right now. The generic inquiries have multiple columns. They let you filter. So I could do, for example, let's type IRS here. If you have any bills with the IRS, yes, it will show. You can sort by clicking on any column. You can even add your own columns to the inquiry if you want. You can create predefined filters. It's a pretty neat and powerful tool. There's over 400 inquiries that ship with Acumatica out of the box. You can also create your own inquiries. And the great thing is that you can completely modify how the data is extracted, how it's filtered. And last but not least, you can retrieve these inquiries in Excel using Velixo. In this case, I want to get the AP bills and adjustments inquiry. So I will just copy the title here. I can type it, but I just find it easier to copy paste the inquiry title. Just need to make sure that it is exposed via OData. So this is what we need for Velixo. And then I just go back to my package, the same sheet we have been working on here. And I will just type equal GI, the name of my connection and the name of the GI. Press enter, and Excel will start retrieving the data from that inquiry. This takes just a few seconds, and once it's ready, you will see a table with all the different columns that are part of this inquiry. You do see all the columns, but maybe you just want to work with a few, and you can do that by modifying the function and listing the column names here and the select arguments. I want type, reference number, status, vendor. Let's put the date, description, and the amount. So you can type that here, press enter. Excel already refreshed the inquiry. It was lightning fast. And what I can do next is format that table so that it looks exactly the way I want. And this is now part of my workbook. When I click refresh, Excel will not only refresh my financials, but will also refresh this table. Another cool thing that you can do is add a filter. I mentioned that you might be interested in just a vendor. So let's say you want to look at IRS Gov here and just have the invoices from the IRS. You can do that. You just need to specify the filter here. Let's find it. Yep, filter. So let's take a quick pause and read what it says here. It says that the filter are conditions in the OData filter syntax. That sounds a bit complicated, right? Well, it doesn't have to. We do not expect our users to be programmers or, as I call them, OData ninjas, because we do offer that very simple GI filter function that will write this OData filter for you. So let me show you how easy it is. I just need to type GI filter, type the column name, and the value, I have it in B1. And you'll see what OData is. What OData is, this is this query here. You can actually hide this. You don't even need to see it, okay? But I just wanted to have it in a cell. So let's reference here and press enter. Now you will see that this is now filtered on IRS Gov. So let's say I hide my filter. Let's just right click and look at different vendors. Now Excel also refreshes when I change a vendor, and I only see bills for that specific vendor. You can add additional filters if you want. It's very easy. Let's say you want to filter by status too. So let's say you just want to have open bills in row 1. Let's do it here in row 2. Status, open, and let's do maybe from date here. I just want to see entries that are from 01/01/2018 or later. And simply modify your filter here and add additional columns. So status is now in B2. And for the from date, we'll just do greater than or equal to the value that I have here. Enter. And now we only see open bills that are dated after the 1st of January 2018. And let's add a vendor filter again. So you can see that it also updates. That's the generic inquiry function. So it is the most powerful tool inside Velixo when it comes to data extraction. We do include and offer a long set of reports that leverage the GI function. For example, if you want to get a list of transactions for a GL account without having to go to Acumatica or maybe with special filters that Acumatica or your ERP system cannot accommodate, you can do that from Excel. That's an example here. I also have a reconciliation report. It's called ARAP. No. Well, I have it somewhere here. It's on the website, but I'm working off my laptop today. But yeah, you can see it. Let's open. That's another example. We created a reconciliation report that looks at GL versus AP, GL versus AR, GL versus inventory, and there's a variance check for each with detailed reports that shows you AR, AP, inventory detail, and GL detail. So these are all reports that we provide and that are available on our website at help.velixo.com. I hope that everyone is having fun. I just pretty much completed my presentation of the reporting side of things. I do want to switch to WriteBack, another very exciting piece of Velixo that's also available with our solution. WriteBack is something that you will find right here in the Velixo toolbar. And with WriteBack, as the name implies, you can write back data to your ERP system. We launched Velixo in late 2017, early 2018. And at first, Velixo was just focused on reporting. And quickly, it became obvious to me that people were using it to make decisions and then building spreadsheets that they would use to update data or create transactions in their ERP system. And one of the most interesting example I saw is this liability insurance accrual calculation. So I did modify it slightly, but it is really based on something that one of our first clients, by the way, we have thousands now. One of our first clients was doing this manually before Velixo. So each month, Sophie, that's her name, she had to go through each company, each branch, run a sales report to get the revenue. Okay, so let's say, okay, I run this one, this one, this one here. And based on that, the system, or rather the spreadsheet she had built, was calculating a GL entry that she would then need to type in manually into her legacy ERP system to properly account for that liability insurance accrual. My sample is simplified, but in her case, there were like 70 or 80 branches. It was very long and very manual. So when Velixo arrived, we made her life a lot easier. She no longer had to run the reports manually to get the data. She could simply change the date here. Okay, so let's say it's now March. She can type it. The system can run the report and give her the latest data. Or if she needs to change the rate for some reason, she can do it. But the solution was still incomplete. She still had to go to our ERP system and type this GL entry. And I shared this with my team back then, and I asked, like, wouldn't it make sense to add a button that would just take this and create the entry? And this was the introduction of write back inside Velixo. And let me show you how it works. Just click perform write back. And the system will show me the transaction that was just created. It was quick, right? It is the exact same transaction that you saw earlier in Excel. It has the same numbers, same values, and it was also fully checked for consistency. It went through the workflows that I have. Everything was audited, so there's a trace that me, as an Acumatica user, like, I was logged in and I created this transaction. Everything is audited, and this transaction here that you see actually came from the spreadsheet that you have right here. Okay, so next month, if anything changes, we can update the values, click write back again, and provided that I have access to the journal transaction screen, again, security is important, I'm logged in, provided that I have the ability to create a journal entry manually, the system will let me create it in one click. I'd just like to thank Andrew for this kind feedback on write back. I'm glad that you like it. Actually, this is the simplest write back scenario. We have a lot of cool write back examples coming up next. I'm glad that you are excited about that. So just to show you auditing, I mentioned that. I will click audit history. You can see that this was created by demo. So that's my own user account. It was done on March 16 at 2:41 p.m. And this is, yeah, a minute ago. Creating the write back worksheets is quite simple. You can do it by clicking new sheet here and selecting journal transaction. So this is what we did here. We also have additional write back scenarios that I will be showing you next, but let me just show you the simplicity of write back. I will create one here for a journal entry. You get a blank template. You just fill out the blanks. You can add your own formulas to it and end up with something like this spreadsheet here that can then be written back in a single click. Beside journal entries, there's one thing that is also very commonly done inside Excel, and it is budgeting. People will run reports inside their ERP system. They will export data, and from this data, they will make decisions. They will create a forecast, they will make adjustments, and then prepare a budget that, guess what? They once again need to enter manually in their ERP system. Not anymore. With Velixo, you can just create your own budget sheet and either start from a blank slate or use one of the predefined templates like this one here that shows all my revenue and expense accounts with a few added calculations. One of the ways, for example, you could create your budget is by looking at prior year actuals. And this is what you see here in column D. Okay, actually, let me zero out this forecast here. It's a bit crazy. Zero, we'll get back to this. Yeah, so what I was saying is that one of the ways you can build your budget is by looking at prior year actuals. And in Velixo, it's very easy. You can just use account ending balance and just do year minus one or month minus year month minus one. It's up to you. Okay, here this is the entire year, and based on that data, I have added a formula here that lets me apply a forecast, and then all the columns that come next will be calculated based on prior year plus this forecast. Okay, so let's say next year you're expecting a 20% sales increase. Your freight revenue will go up slightly, cost to about 500%. And let's say office expenses will go down, rent will go up. You can play with the numbers here. And as you can see, the budget recalculates. So that's one of the ways that you can work and build your budget. At this time, I would like to point out that Excel includes very advanced capabilities for collaboration, co-authoring, and basically working together towards a final report or a final budget in this case. Let's say I want to involve my colleague Duffy, who has been answering questions on live chat today, and I want to ask him what he thinks the budget will be for travel expenses. So Duffy is in charge of sales. Duffy gets to travel to visit clients, and he probably has a better idea than me. So I could ask Duffy to come in here and give me his opinion. Duffy, can you update your sales budget for let's say 2024, maybe? Okay. And by doing this, Duffy will receive a notification. If Duffy is on Outlook, it will even be able to comment in Outlook without even having to open Acumatica or Excel. And since Duffy is part of the same organization, we are all on Office 365, Duffy will also be able to open the file at the same time I'm working on it. I will see his changes. And if I'm not in Excel when he makes the changes, I will also have the ability to look at the Show Changes panel. That's another Excel feature, which will show me who changed what and when. So right now, you can see all the changes that I have been making. But later on, if Duffy goes here and makes a change to the budget, I could filter here and specifically search for the changes that Duffy has been working on. So that's budgeting based on prior year actuals. For things like wages, salaries, you might have a different approach. Maybe you have a separate spreadsheet where you look at all your employees, salary, bonus payments, if you have any hours planned, your employer taxes, and so on. So that might be done very differently. And once again, you can do this. And I have an example for my payroll. What you see are the different totals for all my financial periods, but I'm actually linking to another workbook called Payroll Budget that I will open right now. And this one does things very differently, but this is just to show once again that you can have different inputs, different teams working on the budget and making changes. And depending on the GL account or the context, you can be doing the budget calculation in very different ways. Once again, we have templates. We can provide guidance and we can help you with this. But remember that once this data is in your spreadsheet, you will be able to refresh, see up-to-date data, and make changes that can be pushed to your Acumatica system very easily. So here in my payroll budget, let's say I'm ready. Oh, you can see Duffy is logged in. Maybe Duffy will be playing with the forecast. Oh yeah, I just saw his comment. Will complete tomorrow. Oh, thank you, Duffy. That's great. That's teamwork. That's teamwork with a smile. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with this budget. I want to push it back to my ERP system. I simply use the write back function once again, and while it's writing back, I will put Andrew's comment on the screen, and I just heard a laugh through the office. Yes, Andrew, write back is amazing. So yes, my budget has been written back. Once again, I just want to remind you that you have to be logged in to be able to do write back or refresh data. Not everyone in your organization will have the ability or the permission to do write back. If you're not able to in the ERP system, you will not be able to do it inside Excel. So we just share all the security infrastructure, permissions, credentials with the ERP system. And what you can do inside Excel is what you can already do or what you have access to in your ERP system. Beside the GL write-back, the budget write-back, the financial and project functions, we have project forecasting write-back, so for project budgets. And one last thing that is actually super cool called generic write-back. I would like to put the emphasis on the word generic here. Generic means that you can do anything with it. It can be as simple as updating sales prices, creating new items, updating customer information, or creating a very advanced or sophisticated quotation system that applies just to your business. So let's start with a simple example first. Creation of AP bills. You have a PDF file or a spreadsheet with a list of amounts and vendors. You want to create bills quickly, so you could create a generic write-back spreadsheet that would let you create bills. So let's do this one here. Let's say it's Pure Water. They sent us 25 different invoices. So 01/01/2023. This is Pure Water. Actually, 1 USD invoice test here. Okay, so you can have that. This uses the import scenarios behind the scenes. That's a pretty powerful tool inside Acumatica. And using import scenarios, well, you can do anything that you can do from the user interface. You can automate it from external systems. In this case, Velixo with Excel in our test. Okay, so let's try it. Fingers crossed. That's generic writeback. I did not even check if I was using the right scenario, but if there's any error, well, Excel will tell us right here in column L. Well, yes, I do have an error. The GL account cannot be empty, obviously. So let's go back here. Let me just check what my chart of accounts look like. Okay, start with 5. Let's use, well, not 5, let's use 6 here. Purchasing expense, 60,000. Let's write back again. If you have any custom workflow, if you've added custom fields that will also work, yes, cool, we can see the lines were uploaded. Just to show you this was real, unscripted, I'll go to bills and adjustments, and you will see pure drinking water. I have 2 invoices. They should have different descriptions. Let's look at this one here. Yes, it does say another test, 3K, another test, 3K here. And the one right before was just test, $1,000. So this is generic writeback. And remember, I showed you, or rather I mentioned that you can create more complex or sophisticated examples, let's say quotation spreadsheets. And I will finish my section on writeback by showing you a pretty cool example that we also provide as an example. So let's say it's called tile estimating with writeback. As you know, Excel is often used for estimation. Many companies, let's say contractors, will rely on Excel for quotations. Remember what I said at the start of my presentation. Manual spreadsheet, disconnected data. You have to update it manually. You can make mistakes. Velixo solved this problem, number one, by giving you access to real-time data from your ERP system. So that could be, for example, pricing, okay, that you can extract from your ERP system here. And it also lets you write back data to the system. Okay, so let me refresh that here. Perfect. Let's change, let's say, so this is a tiling company. It's not a real company, but this was just to show that you can create a full-blown estimate. You can have the system calculate the price. So there's something odd going on here. I no longer have my unit pricing. Unit square, unit price. Yeah, we'll have to check what happened with this one. Normally, I do have pricing. So that was the whole purpose. But yeah, this is just to show that I am getting the pricing from Acumatica here. I'm getting that in real time. And I can then use this to create an estimate that you can print to your client with all the labor materials that you need. And thanks to writeback, you can push this to your ERP system. So let me just click writeback here. All my prices will be 0, but you will still see that I'm able to create a customer, a quote, a project, and the project estimate, which I will then be able to use for reporting. So that will take a few seconds. And while it's running, I will queue up my next demo. And yes, let's add Andrew's testimonial. Once again, writeback is amazing. Actually, Andrew, I know you are an existing Velixo user. That was meant to be 101. I know you're also doing something super cool with writeback. I wish we could do a webinar just to showcase the great stuff that your company is doing with Velixo. I hope that this simple example will do it justice. But yeah, maybe one day we do this this session together, Andrew. Okay, perfect. So yeah, it was created. And now we have a project ID. We have a sales order in Acumatica, and I have hyperlinks that let me access the document. Just to show you here, it's dated from today. Yes, good. Okay. I have one more thing for my presentation today. Actually, the best way for me to highlight this last demonstration is to show you, where is it? This is the Velixo blog, by the way, blog.velixo.com. Pretty cool, lots of content. Blueprint, yes, right here. Oh no, that's not this one. Distribution, where is it? Oh, sending email data, yes, I think it's this one. Yes, the do everything for me button. So this is, a good one-line description of what automated report distribution is. It's basically a tool that will take your reports, whether simple or complex, will take care of refreshing, filtering, exporting, emailing, sharing on Teams, and doing this for as many recipients and versions of your report as you need, all in one click. So it's a report broadcasting tool, report publishing tool. We call it distribution. This means the same thing pretty much to me. A good example of how you can use this sheet here, this P&L right now, it shows consolidated, but I can also run it for different branches, divisions. Let's wait. Yes, Services East, Services West. I have products wholesale, the consolidated view. So maybe you have different managers that should be receiving the same report, but just for their division. Maybe you have people that just need to receive the income statement, so just a tiny bit of the report. You can do all of this and more using the report distribution feature that is also included in the solution. So I have it right here. You can click New List, and the system will bring a spreadsheet where you will be able to enter the specifications or set differently the list of reports that you want to generate. Okay, normally you will do this just once. I don't want to create the list from scratch. Instead, I will open, well, actually, no, you know what? Let's do it from scratch. I think it will be easier for you to understand instead of me opening a more complex list. So I am interested in having Services East profit and loss, Services West profit and loss, and consolidated profit and loss. And I want the report to be sent to different managers. So let's say Services East at Velixo.com, Services West at Velixo.com. Wow, pretty cool. I think it says AI at play. It generated the email address. Well, it's not exactly what I want, but in this case, the CFO is the one who should be receiving this. Let's use the same subject for all. Here's your report. Fantastic. And what I have to do before I'm ready to send this is to specify the file format and decide the tabs that should be included. File format, let me walk you through this. You have a bunch of options. Excel, so that same spreadsheet with the ERP connection. I can remove the Velixo formulas. So it's helpful if you're going to be sending this to an external auditor that does not have access to your ERP system. Let's do this. And you can also send a PDF file if you want. That's also another option that is possible. Let's use the PDF for the first two and the Excel version for the CFO. It will be better this way. I want to have the P&L sheet, and maybe also include the income statement in both cases. If you leave it blank, actually, let's do it for the last one. If you leave it blank, everything will get included. There's one last thing missing. Remember, I want to filter. I want this to be Services East only, Services West only, consolidated only. Well, we can apply filters by using distribution list. It's very easy. This uses the standard Excel name box. This is a name box. You might not be familiar with it. When you click on any cell here, Excel shows you the address. So D21, column D, row 21, but you can actually change this to salaries actual type. Then you can reference it in any formula and use the name. So it's equal salaries. I made a quick typo, but I'll use it as well. That's another way you can reference cells in Excel. And that's also how you apply filters in the distribution list. So branch NM, that's the name I want. I will use this in my brand new distribution list right here. Let's add branch NM. And for each row, let's specify the branch that we will need. Services East, Services West, consolidated. Perfect. Remember, you're doing this just once, okay? I'm creating the list from scratch, but you can do this once, and then you simply click Distribute All to reuse the same list. Let's run it. It will take a few seconds. I've seen we have a client that runs hundreds of reports using this tool. They have built an external spreadsheet too that contains for each department the list of managers, employees, what they should receive. So they've leveraged Excel formulas. You can do that. It's a spreadsheet, but this is a simple example that fits well the presentation today. Perfect. So let me just go to Outlook. I'll stop sharing momentarily, but my screen will be back. Perfect. So I'm back in Outlook. I am looking at my drafts. That's a default. You could send the email right away if you wanted, but you don't need to. You can see that I have 3 emails pending. Let's just open this one here, Services East in Microsoft Edge. So you will see that it is filtered. That's a nice looking PDF with the income statement. And let's open the one that we sent to the CFO. And you'll see that this is the full workbook, but that the workbook has been modified so that my ERP connection has been removed, and we only have values instead of formulas. Actually, only the Velixo formulas, the total here, total expenses, the percentage calculations, all the standard formulas are still part of the workbook. That was a basic example. We can do a lot more. And actually, I do see an interesting question from Robert. Let me bring it on screen. Under the format column, I see an option for none. Is this a placeholder for future distribution, or is there another common use case for none? Thanks and great 101. You're welcome, Rob. Yes, the none option is pretty cool. There are cases where you might just want to send a message. Okay, so the most simple example could be this one here. I have, let's say I want to email Puffy, and let's call that weekly snapshot. So in the message, the email body, I might say here type total sales for the week, and then concatenate this with something here. Let's say net sales. That's the entire year, but that's an example of what you could do, okay? You don't send any attachment, you just send an email message. One more thing that you can do with the none option, and this is actually the coolest, is to include an actual portion of the workbook as an HTML message in the email. So for example, let's take the income statement here. You might want to have this, so that entire area here in the email. And you would do this by using, once again, a name range. I do have a name called income statement here that is including everything that you see here. So let's put that in the distribution list and then try again. In the email body, I will put Ash and the name of my range. Ash tells Velixo to look at a name range or a cell, and let's distribute this one. That will take a few seconds. And if I go to Outlook in my drafts, you will see that weekly snapshot, which has the data. Oh, and the reason the chart is missing, I'll show you why and what happened here. Let's just close this. That's because I did not filter by branch. So now it's effectively calculating an empty branch. So let's do it once again. And this time it will look exactly the way we expect. Yes, so that's our nice chart. And Duffy, if I send this to you, I will do it right now. I know you're in the office next to mine. If you pull out your iPhone and open the email, you will be able to view this without even having to open Office on your smartphone. So this is why we have the none option in there. Obviously, you can do a lot more with distribution list. You can create blueprints. So basically take one sheet as a template and copy it for all the branches. We have additional content on the Velixo blog. check it out, blog.velixo.com. It's also on the YouTube channel. We have examples, so blueprints, let's search for that. You can learn more about blueprints. All of that is documented. This is something that we also cover in our training. Yeah, got it. So wonderful. I see that Duffy received the email we just sent him. Yeah, so that's all on the blog, Velixo YouTube channel. You can follow this for extra content that we publish. We try to do webinar and quick videos once in a while for our customer base. That completes my overview of Velixo, Velixo 101. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions, make sure to follow up with us. I do have the email addresses of everyone who registered for today's presentation. I know there's people that probably picked this up live on LinkedIn or YouTube. But anyway, the contact info is on my screen right now. info@velixo.com. We will make sure to get back to you. I believe we answered everyone that was asking questions in live chat today. But definitely, by all means, if you have any questions, if you're an existing customer and you want to do something with Velixo, we'll be happy to help you as well. Thanks, everyone. It was fun to be with you today. I had a lot of fun. It's always great to have this interactivity with guests on the YouTube channel. And we will make sure to repeat these webinars again, maybe do Velixo 201 with more advanced content. I'm sure there would be interest for this. Yeah, thanks everyone. It was fun, and I wish you a great afternoon and a nice weekend too. There's one day left before Friday. See you.